Hi all, I'm Dallas from the Traction eRag, and I would like to talk to you about that right there, the Kove. We've had 3 good days and we have revealed some very interesting things. This 450 was purpose-built to race Dakar. People immediately judge this motorcycle because it's Chinese made. It makes it divisive, and I think that that's a mistake. In this case, I think that is a mistake. In order to understand this motorcycle, you need to understand the Dakar Rally. I'll tell you what little I know about the Dakar Rally. I'm a fan, not a rabid fan where I'm watching every year or I follow all the stages closely, but I love the concept of the Dakar. I find it fascinating. They consider it the hardest or one of the most difficult races on the planet. It goes 12 stages, and each one of those stages is 800 to 900 kilometers. Can that possibly be right? If you're going 120 kilometers an hour across the desert just on it, what do you need if you were to purpose-build a motorcycle for this race? 450 cc's is my power plant because those are the rules. It would need to go fast, it would need to go far, and it would need to be reliable. So voila, this is the bike right there. That's it. Where did this bike come from? Why is this bike parked behind me right now? There was a Chinese man who always dreamed of racing in the Dakar on a motorcycle.
他叫张雪儿，19岁，怀化麻阳人，在怀化市开了家摩托车修理店。
The gentleman's name is, and I'm going to butcher the shit out of this, Zhang Hu. Please forgive me, but that's my best. I'm sure someone can correct me phonetically in the comments if you know how to say that man's name. This was the man that wanted to race. It didn't happen in his lifetime during the window where he was able to race that.
哇，你这一身你还搞得啊？没关系，这样才表现得有战斗力嘛。
He's a motorcycle off-road enthusiast from what I can understand, from what I've read and saw. And what he thought to himself is, I don't need to race the motorcycle to fulfill my dreams. I can build a motorcycle and a team that will compete in the race that I have passion for.
我是这样想的，如果我没成功，我就拼命的赚钱，然后我有儿子的话，他不喜欢车我的，让他赛车。
So he announces that he's going to build a bike, a Chinese motorcycle, from the ground up that's going to compete in the Dakar. And I'm sure journalists around the world chuckled and thought, huh, there. That's a nice thought, weirdo. They put this bike together. In 3 years, they went from clay to this, at least a prototype. In January, they took that team to the Dakar, and all 3 of the riders were Chinese. And all 3 of them finished on a 100% Chinese motorcycle. Now that is an impressive feat. This is the bike that they built. So knowing that it was purpose-built, knowing that it finished the Dakar, this bike was built to go fast, to go far, and be reliable. Keep that in mind because I'm going to mention something later in the video that reliable, important. We've been on this for 3 long days. And we've got 3 of these right now, so any weaknesses are going to show themselves much quicker if you have 3 motorcycles. We've ridden them together. We have found a whole host of idiosyncrasies with this motorcycle. But we'll get back to that because I definitely want the word reliable, which mechanically reliable needs to be part of the Dakar package. So when people first receive this motorcycle, what I'm seeing is 2 things. 1, people are commenting on the power and people are commenting on the suspension. The reason they're commenting on suspension is everyone thinks it's too harsh. It's a harsh, stiff ride. It makes sense that it would be a harsh, stiff ride because this motorcycle is designed for one thing, to race the Dakar Rally. Those guys are kicking it 90, 100, 120, 30, 140 kilometers across the desert. They are trying to make time. You know, it's not going to be harsh when you're going 120 kilometers an hour. This is a race suspension. When you first swing your leg over this motorcycle, it's going to pop out to you right away. Second thing, power.
If for putting it in the Enduro category, simply put, this thing is a slug.
KTM have been dominating off-road and Enduro and dual sport. And one of the ways that KTM has done that is they produce very, very powerful engines. So they're putting a very powerful engine in a motorcycle, and when you feel that visceral power of, say, a 690 or a 701, it is intoxicating. It's intoxicating. I have felt that drunkenness on the power. It's so thrilling, and when you're in a straight line and you crack it, it's just, what an experience. What they've done, because they have so much market share right now, is they've set a bar where race and power are synonymous. So if the bike doesn't have power, how could it possibly be a race bike? When people swing their legs over this motorcycle, what happens is they get disappointed in the first, say, 2 hours on the bike, because they think that this race bike is going to have way more power than a 701 or a 690. This does not have that kind of power. It simply doesn't. And I think the reason why was very strategic. Remember, this bike was built to compete in the Dakar Rally.
This year, first of all, end the race and learn. Next year, hopefully have at least one rider in the top 20. Third year, top 10. By the fourth year, hopefully podium. Fifth year, number 1.
I believe, and please correct me if I'm wrong, I believe the rider is responsible for working on his own bike, and then they get a little bit of eat to sleep, and then they're back at it again. It's the most grueling race physically on a human and on a piece of metal that there is. There's always a compromise between power and reliability. You can max an engine out with power, but you're going to compromise on reliability. So if you were to design this motorcycle to go 12 stages over 800 to 900 kilometers per day, if this is power, you're not going to give it tons of power and leave reliability down here. What you're probably going to do is you're going to reduce the power, which is bringing up reliability, reduce the power till it's bringing up reliability. And at some point, probably in this area, maybe even like this, you're going to choose that to race for 12 days for 800 to 900 kilometers. Don't be disappointed, or don't fall for guys' first impressions. My first impression was, oh, it's a bit gutless. We'll link to Chuck Harder's video where he also, on his first ride, thought, oh, this thing is gutless. It's the first thing he had to say.
I was expecting this to be a wheelie machine, but it's actually hard to get it up in third. The power is so weak that it's a bit of a chore to do a second gear wheelie on the road.
And I trust Chuck's opinion. He's got a very credible place to have a very, very good opinion on any dirt bike, any off-road machine. You need to push past your initial feeling about this motorcycle, because it has more than enough power. It really has more than enough power. What's been an issue is myself getting used to how this motorcycle delivers the power. There's a lot you can do with mapping. Chuck has been swapping ECUs with different mapping on them into our machines, and they are different. They really truly are. So like if you wanted low-end grunt, you could probably program that. If you wanted top speed and just everything up top, you could probably program that through the ECU. So don't fall for the idea that they don't have enough power, because that is, in my opinion, is not true. They just don't have the power of your expectations. So if Jet pees on this bike right now, I'm going to throttle him. Go lie down. So let's talk quickly about where this motorcycle fits on Dallas's spectrum. My spectrum is different than everybody else's, I'm sure, but I'll just briefly go over it. I put trials riders way on this side, on the left. I put adventure bikes, so the largest adventure bike you know of, so the BMW GS 13000, that bike is way over here. And right in the middle is dual sport. So, it's trials, it's enduro-y, motocross-y stuff, dirt bikes, true dirt bike stuff. And then in the middle here, it gets into dual sport. And then as we move up, 690s, 701s are roughly here. And then we're going up the scale to, what's the KTM one? 790, 890, 1190, 1000, Africa Twins. All that stuff's way, way to the right. Not as far right as this BMW 13,000, but, over here. So we're going to talk about this segment, which I consider dual sport. This bike fits in that segment, and I think it fits down here toward the dirt area, because the way I would describe this motorcycle is what I touched on a little bit earlier, which is the idea that this is a 450 four-stroke dirt bike with huge fuel capacity. It also has to have large oil capacity. It has a oil cooler. It has huge radiators with fans mounted behind each one. This is a dirt bike designed to go far, to go fast, and to be reliable. So how does the bike feel? It feels like a 450 four-stroke with a lot of weight. Now here's the trick. If you've ever taken a 450 four-stroke and putting a huge gas tank on it, you'll quickly find out that that thing is so top heavy, and when that gas is half full and it's sloshing around in there like crazy, it is really, you can feel it through the motorcycle, and it is absolutely making an impact on what that motorcycle is doing. This bike, which maybe all Dakar bikes are like this, it carries the fuel capacity way down here. You fill it, there's 2 fill caps. The fuel goes to the bottom. I'm not sure how far down it goes, but it goes quite low. And then in the back, there's a fuel cap. You can't quite see it, but there's a fuel cap back there. And then that gets put down here. So the fuel sits quite low. It's spread out, of course. There is some fuel up top when it's full, but as it goes down, it's going down like this, and it gets more and more nimble feeling. I think because of the way they place the gasoline on this motorcycle, it makes it feel a lot lighter than if you were to read the specs. It does not feel that heavy. If you've created an Excel spreadsheet and put all the specifications of everything close to this on it, and then trying to put an X to where, or a curve where it lies in based on the specs, in my opinion, the specs do not tell the story. They get you close. They're not able to truly place the bike where it belongs. Who's going to be attracted to this motorcycle? I watched Dork in the Roads review his first impressions when he was on this motorcycle.
Okay, first impression, very narrow motorcycle, which is shocking for a bike that I'm pretty sure has an 8-gallon fuel tank. It is stiff as hell, dude. Damn. So is this it's definitely not a dual sport. I mean, it feels like a race bike. And it's obviously capable, super capable.
He instantly thought it was hard-edged and difficult to ride. Now, I know Dork. He's been with us up at Grisbait.
Whoa, dude, my wife would hate that I'm right here.
And one, not only is he smart and I respect his opinion, I know where he fits in the experience level and what kind of off-road riding he's done, which is not a lot. I mean, he's going to admit to you himself, and he does often, that he thinks he's a shit rider, which he's not, but he has not had a lot of real hardcore off-road experience either. So when Dork says that this is hard-edged and difficult, that's correct. It should feel that way for him because he is typically an adventure rider. I think I saw in his history he went from bigger bikes and he's slowly going down to dual sport bikes. Adventure guys who do not have a lot of off-road experience may not like this bike in its stock form. Sure, there's all kinds of things you can do to soften the suspension on this motorcycle, and I think that you should do that if you're coming from a non-racy, non-dirt bike background. Now let's talk about, those are the guys who probably won't like it stock. Let's go from this end. So the trials riders, enduro guys down here. If you have extensive racing, off-road, enduro, motocross experience, you're going to feel comfortable on this motorcycle right away, at least on the suspension portion. You're going to be instantly probably disappointed with the power output, maybe, But once you spend some time on this, you'll see like the frame and the suspension and the platform that this thing creates. It's right up your alley. It is. This is a dirt biker's dual sport bike. This motorcycle was not aimed at the consumer. And just as a byproduct of that man's vision to compete in the Dakar Rally, we are going to benefit because this is now being released to the consumer. So if you're racy, or if you had a racy background, if you ride fast and you're an off-road guy or motocross guy, you're going to love it, except the engine. If you're over here, you're going to not like the stock setup of the suspension and the frame. You'll appreciate both of these things later. Adventure guys are going to be more tolerant about the engine characteristics than guys who are from a racy background. Actually, I take that back. Both segments, both off-road race guys and adventure guys who are used to European power and 1000cc power are going to be disappointed with the engine characteristics. If you spend time on this motorcycle, that will go away. I can almost guarantee it. They didn't design a race bike for the Dakar and not give it enough power to be competitive. So it's competitive. And there's all kinds of things you can do. You can do suspension, you can change the gearing, you can change the mapping. There's all kinds of stuff you can do to set this motorcycle up how you would like to, so it fits your riding best. So I'm going to list the problems. This is going to be off the top of my head. I have a sheet here, but I didn't write them down. The reason why is because I would like to release some videos specifically about the problems we found. We were on a ride. It was 6 hours long, and I know that because I tracked it on my GPS watch. And a bunch of things were revealed. The oil was leaking out of the oil cooler for a bit. The fuel tank was spewing gas all out of the overflow valves. The Speedo had a glitch that was weird. We dropped it and couldn't get it started again, which was weird. What else? I mean, roughly that's it. Just idiosyncrasies, and I want to talk about those things, but and we're going to do videos about those ideas. Now, what I will say in the video, just so you don't throw your hands up and say, I'm never buying a Kove, I knew it, Chinese junk. I don't think any of the things that we've found defeat what this bike is in an overall package. We're going to get to those right away, and we'll have some videos for you guys very soon. We want to give you as much information as we can, so you either make the purchase and are happy, or maybe you shouldn't buy this bike because it's not what you're looking for. If you're interested in those ticks, please subscribe. Even better, sign up for our newsletter, because we often release stuff to our newsletter list first. We usually give, in the text at least, much more information than we would on the video.